Thank you so much for joining us for our discussion on American Airlines. My name is Arya Shoa, and I'm going to introduce you to the rest of our team.
Hi, I'm Lauren Jones.
My name is Morgan Mendoza.
Hi, I'm Ryan Bass.
Before we get into the analysis and recommendations, I want to take this time to tell you a little bit more about American Airlines and the current situation at hand. American is the largest airline in the world. Every year, American has capacity for over 256 million passengers and maintains a massive fleet of over 956 jets. These planes include a mix of Boeing and Airbus aircraft, which includes a large amount of the A320 family, as well as the 737 family, the 777, as well as the brand new and luxurious Boeing 787 Dreamliner. American also had over 130,000 employees in 2019. It goes without saying that American Airlines truly plays a critical role in keeping the nation and the entire world connected. But unfortunately, a drastic event would change everything. COVID-19 has had a momentous effect on the entire world, but the effect on the aviation industry is beyond dramatic, as thousands upon thousands of flights are canceled and a record low number of passengers are taken to the skies. In March of 2020, the federal government sought to help alleviate some of the economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic by introducing the CARES Act. This bill, which received an immense amount of bipartisan support, included a relief loan for major airlines, including for American. The loan kept carriers like American afloat and required them to hold off on layoffs or furloughs until the end of September. But as the pandemic continued and the aviation industry continued to sink, a renewal of the act was needed. Unfortunately, as of today, this has still not yet happened. The CARES Act's terms expired and airlines began to furlough and lay off employees. American Airlines, in an effort to stay alive, had to furlough over 19,000 employees, and fears are growing that many more may be in store. So now that everyone understands the current situation, I want to throw things over to Lauren, who will begin our analysis.
Thank you, Arya. It's important that we continuously analyze the external environment to identify any potential threats or opportunities that could drive the profitability and growth of our company. We examined Porter's 5 forces, and we also conducted a pastel analysis to help inform us in making our recommendations. The threat of new entrants in the airline industry is low because there are many barriers to entry. It's very capital intensive, energy intensive, and labor intensive. There are also many regulations and government policies. Economies of scale is another barrier to entry because it discourages new competition due to high startup costs. The bargaining power of buyers is very high. In the airline industry, there are many airlines that are all very competitive with their prices. Thus, buyers have a lot of choices concerning the airlines that they want to use. Buyers are very influential because they purchase a large portion of the industry's output. There are no switching costs, and the industry's products are relatively standardized. The bargaining power of suppliers is also very high because there are few suppliers and no substitutes, so suppliers are very powerful in setting prices. Boeing and Airbus are the two major suppliers in the airline industry. The intensity of rivalry among competitors is also very high because the airline industry itself is highly competitive. We compete primarily on price and service because airlines are relatively similar in size and provide relatively standardized products. There are also high costs of exit and high fixed costs. Our biggest competitors include Southwest Airlines, Delta, and United Airlines. Next, I'm going to talk about our pastel analysis. The coronavirus pandemic represents a significant threat. The country borders are still closed, and there's a strong potential for a resurgence of cases with the winter weather that could lead to more stay-at-home orders. This would obviously impact the demand for airline travel. The current recession is an economic factor that poses a threat because consumers have less disposable income to spend on travel. The pandemic also had a big social impact because it led to a decrease in consumer buying power, an increase in concern for travel safety, a renewed focus on cleanliness, and a rise in the amount of people choosing to stay home rather than travel. However, the holiday season represents a potential opportunity because it could lead to an increase in demand for airline travel. American Airlines obviously has to keep up with its competitors in terms of technology so we don't fall behind. Especially with growing concern for travel safety, it's an opportunity for American Airlines to invest in new technology to help keep travelers safe amid the pandemic. Climate change is an ongoing threat, but it's also a potential opportunity depending on how a company chooses to respond. Amid society's growing concern for the environment, American Airlines is continuously working to upgrade to more fuel-efficient options in an effort to reduce its carbon emissions. And since American Airlines operates in 50 countries, we must follow the different rules and regulations in all of those countries. Next, Morgan is going to talk about our current strategy.
Thanks, Lauren. American Airlines' current strategy is primarily based around the COVID pandemic. So on the financial side, they burned about $58 million in cash every day since the beginning of the pandemic, but they've trimmed it to around $44 million a day. And recently, they proposed a public offering of 38.5 million common stock shares. This would raise around $500 million. As Aria stated, they're the largest commercial fleet in the world, which provides them a unique competitive advantage since they can offer more flights than many other companies. On the human resources side, for 17 years, they've received a perfect score for corporate equality by the Human Rights Campaign, but they don't stop there. They also have internal awards for diversity and inclusivity in the workplace. As for innovation, if they're focusing on a new emerging technology, they'll look outside the company. As for their reputation, it hasn't been great recently. They rank 10th out of 10 major airlines for satisfaction. They've also had plenty of bad publicity, for example, packing customers on planes during COVID. They're also considered second to Delta in domestic flights. As for their business level strategy, they mainly focus on domestic flights and expanding their domestic network. But this doesn't mean they only offer domestic flights. They have partnerships with other companies for international flights, such as the One World Alliance, which will, if a customer has a second leg of their flight that takes them outside the United States, will show companies that American Airlines has partnerships and recommends for your second flight. They also extended their partnership with Alaskan Airlines, which they recently cut ties with them but backtracked and decided to extend their partnership with them. They also created a Seattle to Bangalore flight, which is very unique since, like I said, they typically focus on domestic flights, but this will open up a unique Asian market for them. They also have loyalty programs, such as the American Airlines credit cards, so whatever you spend can be made into miles. They also have the typical mileage program, but neither of these are too unique since most airlines offer similar programs. Overall, as a company, they're reactive instead of proactive. This often makes them seem like a company that partners with second choices, such as a recent partnership with Gol. It's a Brazilian company that they partnershiped with in 2012 but cut ties with, and Delta partnershiped with them. But recently Delta cut ties with them and partnershiped with a new company. And in response, American Airlines decided we'll partner up with Gol. So instead of being a proactive company that goes out and seeks the new opportunities, they react to whatever new airlines do. Next, Ryan will talk about our first recommendation.
As Lauren mentioned earlier, airlines typically compete on the basis of price and service. Although American is a very large airline with many customers, they don't really seem to differentiate themselves through either low cost or quality service and seem to kind of swing somewhere in the middle. We feel that in order to further differentiate themselves successfully, American should work to focus on and invest in better customer service and quality. American's generally been criticized for their customer service, and as Morgan briefly mentioned, American was ranked 10th out of the top 10 US airlines in the 2019 Airline Quality Review Study. This is one of the most comprehensive studies that's done on the performance and quality of the top US airlines that's based on metrics and data that's obtained from the airlines. American has been consistently ranked pretty poorly on this review, and they actually this year had the largest decrease in their score of all the other airlines, as well as the highest ratio of involuntary denied boardings and the highest ratio of mishandled baggage. Issues like these and many others that the company is dealing with can have a potential major impact on customer loyalty for existing customers and their ability to entice new customers from other airlines to fly with American. Because of this, we feel that it's really important that American invest in quality improvements and implement initiatives such as reduced overbookings and various staff trainings, among other things. We also feel that this could be expanded into other areas of their customer service, such as their loyalty program Advantage, also their ability to integrate their social media, and further interact with their customers. Ultimately, we feel that this comes down to a well-defined mission statement. Although they have various slogans, as of now, American doesn't really have any clear or defined mission statement. Our major recommendation for American for their long-term health is to craft an effective mission statement that's both customer-focused and emphasizes quality. This mission statement then needs to be used to guide all of their decisions regarding their culture and also to help them work towards repositioning their company as a higher quality brand that's focused on their customers' experiences. Although this will likely take a lot of time and effort, and there's going to be costs involved, we feel that it will greatly pay off in the future, and this could allow American to strategically work towards creating a competency in customer service and quality.
The Boeing 737 MAX is an aircraft that has had a beyond problematic history, which caused American's 24 brand new MAXs to be put into storage since March of 2019. These aircraft have sat dormant for many months, but yesterday, November 18th, the FAA cleared the aircraft to fly and gave approval for commercial flights to begin yet again. While this is great news for American, as our unused assets will finally get a life once again, we must proceed with cautious optimism and a clear path forward. To Ryan's point, training is going to be critical. We must ensure that American's pilots are properly trained on the enhanced safety features of the aircraft and on the mishaps that led to the unfortunate accidents of Lion Air and Ethiopian Air in 2018 and 2019. This is not only paramount to safe operations, but also to public image, as many are still wary of flying on this infamous aircraft. While on the issue of training, we must also prepare to onboard our 19,000 furloughed employees. From ground crew to pilots, we must ensure that our returning employees are ready to take to the skies again, whether this be through additional classroom training or extra simulator time. But getting our employees back is going to be no small feat. American Airlines, along with other carriers across the nation, are not going to be able to handle this crisis alone. And like I said earlier, another CARES Act is needed. Our hopes are that President-elect Joe Biden, along with members of Congress from both sides of the aisle, will come together to fund a stimulus package to support the American people. But there's no guarantee that the second stimulus will include airlines again, so we recommend that American Airlines collaborates with other airlines across the nation to lobby for airline funding and loans. We will need to hammer home that airlines like American are crucial, not only to the interconnectivity of the nation and the world, but also in the thousands of jobs supplied to households across the nation. Finally, looking towards the future, we recommend American Airlines makes a strategic move to penetrate a new market. While this pandemic has had a profound impact on the company, American Airlines is still expected to survive. However, that cannot be said of every airline. Budget airlines, who are extreme low-cost leaders in the aviation sector, are struggling. Budget airlines typically cater most to leisure travelers and tourists, but with shutdowns and mandates, many people are choosing not to travel or take optional trips right now. Many of these budget airlines are fighting to stay alive. American Airlines has a proper capital backing and positioning, so we are recommending American Airlines takes the move to acquire one of these budget airlines, specifically Spirit Airlines. Spirit is an ultra-low-cost carrier with hubs in Las Vegas, Detroit, and Fort Lauderdale, which are perfectly laid out across the country to connect everything. They exclusively operate the A320 family of aircraft and carried over 33 million passengers in 2019. We recommend an offer be made to acquire Spirit for $2.3 billion, which we came up with using the current market cap and pre-pandemic market cap of Spirit. Out of the big three US carriers, which are American, Delta, and United, none currently operate or own any version of a budget airline. So this acquisition will play a crucial role in entering a new market for American that is largely untapped. However, with that being said, it will need to be noted that American should be sure to distance itself from this acquisition. While economies of scope will play a crucial role in combining the training programs, the loyalty programs, and flight route networks which can be combined together, it will be critical that American maintains its positioning as a more premium and flagship airline, which Spirit really doesn't have that kind of positioning. Therefore, we recommend Spirit will keep its name and branding after the acquisition. We hope you enjoyed our presentation, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, we will open the floor up to some questions.